We acknowledge that the land that church is on today, here along Merriman Avenue, was a main thoroughfare of trade and travel for the people we know as the church. Not far from where the church sits, at the top of the hill between Merriman Avenue and Lexington, is an ancient Cherokee grave site. We honor and give thanks for Cherokee elders, past and present.
I can't see anything other than the TV. You have line of sight on this? Okay.
O Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed with honor and majesty, wrapped in light as a cloak.
In the beginning of God, your spirit swept over the chaotic deep like a wild
Creation voice.
O Lord, the ocean manifold are your works. In wisdom you made them all.
for the sacred earth,
Its
dance,
scents, sounds, styles, we give you thanks.
I sing to the Lord as long as I live, and praise to my God as long as I am.
Glory be to you, great creating spirit, and on earth peace. Glory, 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 and on earth peace.
Let us worship God.
Let them not say, first, let them not say, a poem by Jane Hirschfield. Let them not say, we did not see it. We saw. Let them not say, we did not hear it. We heard. Let them not say, they did not taste it. We ate, we trembled. Let them not say, it was not spoken, not written. We spoke, we witnessed with voices and hands. Let them not say, they did nothing. We did not enough. Let them say, as they must say something, a kerosene beauty, it burned. Let them say we warmed ourselves by it, read by its light, praised, and it burned.
Thank you, Lee Carroll. So the Earth team invited us to, you all can be seated, to reframe our prayer of confession this week. And they invite us to call it a prayer for awareness. And so the poem that Lee Carroll read is our invitation to awareness. So I want to just invite you to take some deep breaths, and I'm going to give you some prompts around awareness, and I will try to repeat back what you say, and maybe Amy, Kim, and Richard can help us with what folks share on the chat. But today, as we center the earth and creation and human impact on creation, what is it that we have seen but we try to say we haven't seen? What is it that we've seen but we try to say we haven't seen about our earth? Pollution, devastation, violence, injustice, exploitation, environmental racism, consumption. Anything in the chat? We may be in a little bit of a delay on the chat. So what is it that we have heard but we've tried to say we didn't hear? What is it that we've heard that we've tried to say we didn't hear? The truth. The truth, yes. Yeah, that we have to give up some of our things. That the earth is warm. Yeah. Fossil fuels are the entire way we live is unsustainable. Yes. Other things that we've heard but we try to say we haven't heard, or we live as if we haven't heard. Yeah, that there's limited time. That I can make a difference. Thank you. Anything in the chat, Richard or Amy Kim? Okay. What about things that have been written? I think of all the research that's been done. What about things that have been written that we try to say, we try to not talk about, or we try to avoid? Things, scholarship, science. Can you think of any examples of that? Things that have been written that we try to avoid. An inconvenient truth, yes, yes. Yeah, that those pushed to the margins by these systems of oppression are the most impacted by this environmental crisis. Anything else that's been written, something a study? I've been doing a lot of work, you'll see in my sermon, on sacrifice zones and Cancer Alley and elevated cancer rates around the world, but especially in our country. Yeah. Rachel Carson's A Silent Spring, and it made a difference. Yes. Yes. Well, let's all take a few deep breaths. Breathe in those sounds, those words, those sights. Let them find a little bit of a deeper home in you. Amen. All right. Come on up, Newers.
Siblings in Christ, remember that we are called, challenged, and loved by a God who will not leave our side. We are God's people, forgiven by grace and empowered by the Spirit. Let us be thankful and be at peace.
Siblings in Christ, this peace that we have, we are not called to just hold on to it ourselves. We are called to share it and share it abundantly. The peace of Christ be with you. Let's share signs of peace with one another here in the lawn, and those of you on the chat, if you could share signs of peace on the chat.
And kids of all ages, if you want to come up here and have a seat with me. The Bible. Good morning. You can sit on the little rugs. You can sit on the grass. Fantastic. Isn't it so great to be outside together? Ooh, watch out. So sorry. Awesome. Ooh, yay. I get to sit by JoJo. Okay, this morning we are talking about creation and figuring out the tools we're going to need in order to care for God's creation. So, what would be some tools that we might need for God's creation? Anybody? Tools? There are some people. What is happening over here?
Amy Kim, we're here.
Oh, I see. I see there's a lot of things going on right here.
And we have some tools that we want to use so we can care for creation.
Wow. You are very prepared. I see a lot of tools here, but I'm not quite sure what you're hoping to do right now.
now?
We're just ready to go to work. We're going to do some stream cleanup for Riverlink and Greenworks, and we're going to go work on the community farm for Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy.
Are we ready to support Riverlink and take away invasive plants around the river?
Okay.
Are we ready?
Okay, those are really great ideas. I just think like we're in worship right now. And while I mean, pitchforks maybe not and rakes and all of those things, I think this stuff is happening this summer, but not today.
Yeah. They're happening later this summer, and everyone can participate, adults, children, families, everybody. Will tell you later in the service about how you can sign up to help.
Okay, that sounds a lot better. Kids, do you think that you could help out later this summer with some of the cleanup opportunities and learning opportunities? Yeah. Awesome. Well, there's one more tool. So you see all those tools that they have, and I'm sure at your house you might have some tools or even some gloves that can help out. But I was thinking, is there anything here that you can see that might help us? Ooh, Lynn put up her hands. That's definitely it, but that's not exactly what I was thinking about. Anybody? Little eyes, something green. The green Bible things. So the Bible actually has a lot of things to tell us about, and it is a tool for us to learn about how God calls us to do things. And this Bible, the green Bible, it's not all green, is it? No, it's not all green. But if you look through, do anybody notice maybe something that's green? Do you notice something that's green there? The words, yes, good job. So sometimes we get Bibles that have red letters, and those are always the words that Jesus spoke. And in this Bible, all the green letters and words are things that God says to us through Scripture about creation. So it's a really good way to look at the ways that God teaches us about creation. And I was wondering if someone who is a reader would mind reading us a part of this. Vivian, I love it. I made it a little bigger, just so it's right there. Here, yep. And JoJo, could you hold the mic for her?
A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun goes down and hurries to a place where it rises. The wind blows to the south and goes around the north. Round and round goes the wind, and the who? Circuits? Okay. And on its circuits the wind returns. All streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. To place where the streams flow, they continue to flow. What? Don't understand that.
I know. The thing about Ecclesiastes is it's a lot of poetry. But it is a lot of poetry about how the world is so beautiful, and that even though we are going to come and go, our hope is that the world will stay. And we have to do some things to make sure that that happens for everybody. What do you all think?
Well, we hope you will all join us for caring for our creation.
Yes, I think that everybody, we just want you to know that it's for all ages, and that there will be something for everybody to be able to do. So can you raise your hand if you think that you're interested in helping care for creation? Thank you. And everybody out there? Okay, look at all those people. Okay, you got to look them in the eye because we're counting on them, right? This is the thing, adults. These young people, for real, I kind of joke, but they're counting on you. They're counting on you to make sure that this world and this earth is still here for them and their kids. Why don't we say a prayer together? Let's put, instead of doing our hand on our heart and our head, let's put our hand on someone's shoulder, okay? And that's a good way for us to always remember that we are connected. Please repeat after me. Creator God, thank you for the beauty of creation.
Thank you for the beauty of creation.
Help us to remember we all need to care for creation. Remind us of the many ways you teach us about creation in Scripture. May we work together to care for creation and for one another. Amen. You can go back to your families, or if you're under 4, you're welcome to go and hang out in the nursery. Thank you. Yeah, but it's all the way around, so you're going to move the children. I'll just stand.
Good morning. And welcome to Grace Covenant Presbyterian Church. I'm Marcia Mountchoop. I'm one of the pastors here, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm so glad that we're able to gather here outside. What a beautiful day. I mean, really, you couldn't order up a better day to be outside for worship, and we welcome you whether you're online or here in worship. We welcome you to this day when we are centering the earth. We hope every day is Earth Day at Grace Covenant, but today we're paying special attention, and we're grateful to members of the Earth team for their leadership in planning worship and in leading worship today. And I do welcome you to Grace Covenant, whether you're here online or in person. We are a community seeking after healing and transformation, particularly through the work that God calls us to around telling the truth about the impacts of white supremacy culture in our lives, in our bodies, and in our church. It's hard work, but we believe this is the work of this church and the work of the church with a capital C. When we gather together, there are 4 ways to connect. You can tell us where you're worshiping from in the YouTube chat. You can also email us at connect@gcpcusa.org and tell us about yourself if you're new-ish to the community. There are connect pads. Can somebody hold one of those up? They're around. There we go. Kathy Meacham's holding one up. Please sign it and pass it around. We don't even care if you keep it in rows. Just sign it and pass it. It's mass chaos today, so just sign it. Let us know you're here. Greet each other by name. And again, if you're watching online, we hope you'll say hello in the chat. There are visitor cards in the Connect pads if you are a visitor and would like to tell us a little bit more about yourself, and you can put those in the offering plate. Today from 4:30 to 6:30, all youth, middle school and high school age, are invited to show up for an afternoon of games, crafts, and community building to celebrate the end of the program year. Bring a shirt and or socks to tie-dye if you would like. This sounds like an important event. I think you need to come and bring maybe multiple clothing items. I don't know if that's allowed. Okay, no underwear. Got it. Dinner will be provided. We are very grateful to have Virginia McKnight here. She is our guest accompanist, assisting our interim accompanist who is in Europe. So welcome, Virginia. And I just learned yesterday that Virginia is well known to many in this community and that you have served this church before as an interim. So we're glad to have you here. And you're welcome to go sit in the shade right now if you want to. The deacon of the week is Sarah Merrill. Where are you, Sarah? Sarah. Oh, there she is in the beautiful purple sash. She's here and she's available all week to answer questions or receive your prayer concerns. Her email is in Realm and in the weekly news, and also she's right here if you want to talk to her here in person. And I would like to invite Kathy Singleton to come up from the Earth team. She's going to tell you some more details about the exciting work days we heard about in faith sharing.
So you've all agreed to sign up, right? Everyone raise their hand to sign up. Earth Team has scheduled 3 family-friendly earth-caring service projects for this summer with 3 different local Asheville-based nonprofit organizations for everyone in the congregation to sign up for. We want children, youth, families. The first one will be on July 1st. It's going to be a stream cleanup service project through Asheville Greenworks. That's Saturday, July 1st from 10 a.m. to noon. And if you sign up, we've got a sign-up table over there for all 3 of these projects, and then you can also sign up on Realm, or either contact me, Dana Kozad, we're the co-chairs for the Earth Team, or really any member of the Earth Team, Susan Preston, Tamara, Eleanor, any of us. The second project is going to be Saturday, July 8th from 8:30 to noon at the community farm that's owned and operated by Southern Appalachians Highland Conservancy. That's our local land trust here in Asheville. And the community farm is just outside of Asheville. The service project's going to include a 2-hour work project and then an optional 1 to 1.5 hour hike around the farm where they're going to give a tour. It's about 2.5 miles. And you can learn more about the farm's conservation project. So that'll be optional after the service project. Then the third one we've scheduled so far, and we may schedule more, but the third one we've scheduled is August 5th, which is also a Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon, doing invasive plant removal on a property here in Asheville that's stewarded by RiverLink. So we've tried to partner with 3 different organizations that do conservation and earth care. So the sign-up table's over there. You can just come over afterwards. I'll be sitting there, and you can sign up. Or like I say, there's a Realm registration already set up. And then look for more information this summer in the church newsletter. If we schedule more projects, we'll put those in the newsletter and let you know how to sign up. So we're excited about these. We've got a really active Earth Team. And please come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Let's give the Earth Team a hand. They've been working hard for many years here at Grace Covenant, and we're excited about these new opportunities. Thank you all so much. Today is the last day of the church program year, so today's the last day that our formation classes will meet, formation for all ages. If you are an adult, you can go downstairs to the fellowship hall. It'll be our final meeting about the book by Dr. Yu, What Kind of Christianity? And kids and youth, you just meet right here in the courtyard, and you'll be dispersing to different places. Also, our beloved Presbys, they have a game today at 2 o'clock, and Bill McNeff has a little something to share. Come on up, Bill.
As you guys know, I'm one of the coaches for the Presbys, and Terrence is also one of my players, Ben. Can I get all the Presbys to stand up? Everybody that's here? Can I get Marcia and Amy Kim and Richard to come up here, please? So we exist because of the support of GCPC. It's as simple as that. They make sure we have uniforms. They put our schedule out there for all of you to see. And speaking of which, don't be afraid to come to a game. So to show our appreciation, the Presbys thought it would be a good idea to do something special and put our pastoral staff on the roster. Okay? So we went ahead and did that. There was a conspiracy between me and Natalie that we got this done. Take him out of the bag, guys. So they are going to be on the team. Here we go. Thanks, pal.
This is awesome. I love it.
It's great, isn't it? Great. So maybe they'll come out to the game, but here's the key. We have a cheerleader this year. She's a little subdued, Amy Kim. She comes to all the games and supports us in a wonderful way. So thank you all very much, and let's just show support again for this great group up here.
Thank you, Presbys. What a beautiful surprise. I was nervous when I heard Bill had a surprise, but that was nice. That was really nice. Thank you. Thank you so much. So today, not only are the Presbys playing at 2 o'clock, and we do hope you'll go to Martin Luther King Park and watch them, but also today at 2, the Asheville Schools Foundation is having an event here. Faith Communities and the Fight for Education Equity in North Carolina. And that starts at 2 o'clock, and it'll be in the Fellowship Hall. The Asheville Schools Foundation is one of our ministry partners, so we're so grateful that they want to host it here at Grace Covenant. We do need 2 to 3 more volunteers on Wednesday afternoons. It'll be 2 Wednesdays a month in the summer where we are going to have produce from the garden set up during the YTL family pickup so that families can take home whatever produce they would like. And we already have one volunteer that stepped up to the plate, Kaola Smallwood, and we need 2 or 3 others to help with that. It would be 4:30 to 5:30 or so, 2 Wednesdays a month, and the first Wednesday is this Wednesday. So if you can help with that, let me know. This is the last Wednesday Bible for summer this week, but I wanted to let you know that there will be a special event Bible study. It's called a Liberation Bible Study, and it will be led by Reverend Tammy Forte Logan. It'll be on Zoom, and it will be the second Wednesday of the month in June, July, and August from noon to 1. Liberation Bible Study, so be on the lookout for that information. Also, next Sunday begins our summer worship schedule. Can I get a hallelujah? 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock is when you have to be here. And next Sunday, we will be back in the sanctuary with our new floor and chairs, and we're very excited to consecrate that new space with worship. Now, be on the lookout this week for a grace note about a lot of summer opportunities at Grace Covenant. There's going to be a lot of wonderful things happening. Also, next week after worship is a congregational meeting. You will be voting on an elder nominee to fulfill an unexpired term on the session. The beautiful flowers today were given by Nancy Irwin. Some of you may remember Nancy. She was a Grace Covenant member from 2002 to 2010. And these flowers are given in memory of her son, Bobby Irwin. You're invited to a gathering to celebrate Bobby's life next Sunday, May 28th from 2 to 4 at Lake Tomahawk in Black Mountain. You should have also seen that we're starting to take reservations for the tourist game on June 23rd. That's just let's go out and have some fun together. So let's look for that and get a ticket for the tourist game on June 23rd. It's time for your GCPC at home pictures. These will be special, beautiful pictures now that we're outside. So snap a picture whether you're here or you're at home and send it to us at prayer@gcpcusa.org. We do have a few prayer concerns. Robin Mallory moved to Givens Highland Farms for rehab. She is out of the hospital, thanks be to God. And she's feeling a lot better. So, Robin, we continue to pray for you. Laura Ross is amazing. Just keeps having new, unforeseen opportunities. She has started yet another treatment here in Asheville, and so far she's tolerating it. So far she's doing okay. She's resting a lot, but they are so grateful for prayers and cards. We are praying for Susan Presson this week. Where is Susan? There's Susan. Susan is getting hip replacement surgery on the 24th of May. Susan, we will be praying for you. And I think filling your belly with some meals, right? After. Yes. Janice Kaminsky's home from her trip. Yay. We're so glad you made it back safe and sound. And also, we ask that you continue to pray for the Associate Pastor Nominating Committee and the Director of Music Searches. Both searches are now at the stage of conversations with particular candidates. So this is an exciting time. So just pray for discernment, and we'd really trust the Spirit's wisdom in this process. If you have other prayer concerns that you'd like for the staff to lift up in prayer this week, you can email them to us at prayer@gcpcusa.org, or you can put them on a green prayer card that's in the Connect pads. All right, let's continue with worship.
Please pray with me. Holy One, we give you thanks for your majestic creation. Clear our cluttered minds so that your word can seep into our bodies, minds, and souls. In the name of the one who will never let us go. Amen. Psalm 104, the word of the Lord. Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed with honor and majesty, wrapped in light as with a garment. You stretch out the heavens like a tent. You set the beams of your chambers on the waters. You make the clouds your chariot. You ride on the wings of the wind. You make the winds your messengers, fire and flame your ministers. You set the earth on its foundations so that it shall never be shaken. You cover it with the deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At your rebuke, they flee. At the sound of your thunder, they take to flight. They rose up to the mountains, ran down to the valleys, to the place that you appointed for them. You set a boundary that they may not pass, so that they might not again cover the earth. You make springs gush forth in the valleys. They flow between the hills, giving drink to every wild animal. The wild asses quench their thirst. By the streams, the birds of the air have the habitation. They sing among the branches. From your lofty abode, you water the mountains. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of your work. You cause the grass to grow for the cattle and plants for people to use, to bring forth food from the earth, and wine to gladden the human heart, and bread to strengthen the heart. The trees of the Lord are watered abundantly, the cedars of Lebanon that God planted. In them the birds build their nests. The stork has its home in the fir trees. The high mountains are for the wild goats. The rocks are a refuge for the conies. You have made the moon to mark the seasons. The sun knows it's time for setting. You make darkness and it is night. When all the animals of the forest are creeping out, the lions roar for their prey, seeking their food from God. When the sun rises, they withdraw and lie down in their dens. People go out to their work and to their labor until the evening. O Lord, how manifold are your works. In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Yonder is the sea, great and wide. Creeping things innumerable are there, living things both small and great. There go the ships and Leviathan that you formed to support in it. They all look to you to give them their food in due season. When you give to them, they gather it up. When you open your hand, they are filled with good things. When you hide your face, they are dismayed. When you take away their breath, they die and return to their dust. When you send forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the ground. May the glory of the Lord endure forever. May the Lord rejoice in God's works, who looks on the earth and it trembles, who touches the mountains and they smoke. I will sing to the Lord as long as I live. I will sing praise to my God while I have being. May my meditation be pleasing to God, for I rejoice in the Lord. Let sinners be consumed from the earth, and let the wicked be no more. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Praise the Lord. The word of the Lord.
Thank you, Tamara. I wanted Tamara to, oop, did I get lost? Okay. I wanted Tamara to read that whole psalm. It's 35 verses. So thank you, Tamara, for doing that. So what did you all notice about that psalm? Anything as you listened to all the details? What did you notice? Anything? You noticed the details. Thank you. Praise and more praise. Yeah. Anything else that you noticed? Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Denise. It was a lot about provision and nurture. And that is really what this psalm is about. It's about how God provides, nurtures, and even saves us through creation. And it's kind of coupled with Psalm 103 that's about God's saving love and mercy. But this is really about God's saving love and mercy through creation. And the way that through creation we always have proximity to God. Always. We're never not with God. Creation is the mediator of this. And so it's a sort of panentheism. It's different than pantheism, which is that God is creation, but that God is in creation and beyond as well. And so it's this beautiful account of just how close God is to us and how God attends to all the details of all these different animals and humans. So we kind of get used to hearing language like this because we've been, for generations, we've been reading hymns and hearing this language around God and creation. But in the early Mediterranean world, in the ancient Mediterranean world, this was a really radical concept. Any guesses about what made it radical, a psalm like this in the early Mediterranean world? There are no wrong answers, just guess. Anything? What would have made it stand out? Abundance and water. Yes. Thank you, Kathy. The philosophy professor saves the day. Yes. One God. So as monotheism is being born, it's born in a culture where gods are all over the place. There's an understanding of multiple gods, and humans are sort of pawns in the whole thing. And the gods can be a little nefarious. But things like the ocean and the sun, these were gods. And so as monotheism emerges, what it does is it brings a certain degree of order to the chaos, but it also creates some assurances for human beings that we're not just pawns in the game of the gods trying to get one up on each other or seek revenge on the other god that made them mad, or that human beings are a treasured part of creation, and that perhaps one of the most important parts that monotheism brings to the fore is there is an ultimate justice. Now, I personally don't think Christians have done a great job with what that looks like. We've struggled, we've bumbled around with what it means that we believe there is an ultimate justice. We've struggled with concepts around hell and punishment. We still don't know exactly how to explain that there is evil in the world. If God is powerful, we struggle with how to understand God's power. We struggle to understand what it means that humans have free will. These are all the big questions of Christianity. But they rise out of this move in the early Mediterranean world to take some of the nefariousness out of the way deity and divinity works in human life. So, just a little bit of info about the early Middle Eastern and Canaanite mythologies, just so you have some kind of understanding of what this might have looked like. The sovereignty, again, of Yahweh would have been a novel concept, that all things depended on God for sustenance, for life, for survival, that God's house is the whole universe, not just located in one place, that God holds the world together, that God brought order out of chaos. In some traditions in the early Mediterranean world, the moon and the sun were seen as deities. But here in this psalm, the sun is not worshipped. The sun is really serving at the will of the sovereign God. In Canaanite mythologies, the ocean was the god of chaos, the god of chaotic power. And here in this psalm, you see that even the sea monster, Leviathan, even that sea monster is now just playing in the water. It's not as dangerous. It's just playing in the water that God created. It's harmless in a sense. So this is how the kind of uniquely powerful God makes sure that everything comes out all right in the end. And again, this hasn't exactly worked out well for some of the ways Christians have accomplished this, but the intention there in that context was to take out this kind of learned helplessness around the way humans are just a pawn in the game of God's. So we have this concept in our faith of God in creation, of God providing for us through creation, of creation speaking to us of God's majesty. So can you hold on to that thought? Just hold on to it for a minute. And now let's shift over to some of the things happening today on our planet. So as I mentioned in the confession, I was looking a lot before, in preparation for the sermon, at some of the current lawsuits and things like that around sacrifice zones. Does anybody know what a sacrifice zone is? What is a sacrifice zone? Anybody? Yes, Eleanor?
It's a part of the community that we allow to be ravaged by all of the pieces of climate change.
Thank you, Eleanor. So this idea of sacrifice zones, it actually started during the Cold War when nuclear arms were being tested, and the U.S. government needed a place for the waste and needed a place to test. And so they called some of these areas sacrifice zones. What was being sacrificed? The environment. And what all comes with that? Do we think these were just places where nobody was living? No, they weren't. So what all do we lose when the environment is compromised by things like nuclear waste or atomic explosions? What do we lose there on the land? The health, yes. Clean drinking water. Oxygen in the atmosphere. Sorry. Homes. Plant life. Water. Communities. Animals can't graze there. It's tough for animals to thrive there. So this term began being used prominently around environmental activists in the 70s around mining and the way mining, especially in the West, but now we know, in any area in our country where there's coal or oil, these areas are basically just turned to specific use. and the people who live there, or the animals who live there, or the land that is there is no longer able to be used for any other purpose. And these are called sacrifice zones. Most sacrifice zones are sacrifice zones today because of industrial activity. Most sacrifice zones have factories. Most of them are petrochemical factories, chemical plants, power plants, oil and gas refineries, landfills, and factory farms. Okay, so we've got sacrifice zones, and we've got this psalm. How do these two things communicate with one another? Where does sacrifice zones fit into our faith? This picture of the earth. Any idea? The number one sacrifice zone was the altar in the temple, and what was that for? It was for honoring God. Did anybody else just get a pit in your stomach? That is this honoring God to have sacrifice zones? If God is in creation, if God is proximate and providing for us through creation, what does it mean that parts of God's body are literally being sacrificed for things like what? What do we get because of these sacrifice zones? Like what? Material things? Sorry? Electricity. Plastic is the big one. All the plastic. Weapons. What? Batteries for our cell phones. Out of sight, out of mind. That's right. There's so many things about our life that are fed by these sacrifice zones. So just hold that thought, that tension, that curiosity around this understanding of God and creation and this truth of sacrifice zones. Now, there is, I guess I'll call it this, the mother of all sacrifice zones is called Cancer Alley. Does anybody know where Cancer Alley is? Louisiana. I don't know, Mike, if you're able to put up, I asked Micah to put up an image of Cancer Alley. It basically stretches from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. It's just a swoop of land there filled with industry, and Micah's putting a few images up there. So Cancer Alley, interestingly enough, used to have another name. Anybody want to guess what it is? This was pre all these industries. Anybody want to guess what it used to be called? Well, yeah, but that's not what it was called. It was called Plantation Alley. Huh. Interesting. Plantation Alley is now Cancer Alley. So in Cancer Alley, the cancer rates are 50% higher for the people who live there than anywhere else in the United States. 50% higher. And in many of these areas where literally almost everybody has cancer, in many of these areas, they are in unincorporated townships and parishes. What does that mean, unincorporated? No formal government. They have no representation. They have no formal streams of ability to come with their grievances. They're not, it's taxation without representation. It's lots of things, right? Most of the factories in Cancer Alley are petrochemical plants and oil refineries. Their petrochemicals are derived from petroleum, natural gas, and used to manufacture products as diverse as synthetic fibers, rubber, drugs, fertilizers, cosmetics, and a lot more. Now, there have been some amazing studies of this area that I really hope you'll go take a look at. My sermon manuscript will have the links to many of them, but ProPublica just did an extensive study of sacrifice zones in the United States. Does anyone know where the closest sacrifice zone is to Asheville? Well, there is a hot spot in Black Mountain, and there's a hot spot basically kind of in Haw Creek. The closest sacrifice zone is in Morganton. Does anybody know what else is in Morganton? Presbyterian headquarters. So let's think about this. And there's so much more for us to learn. I'm noticing that this is almost, there are a few of us that know these things, but a lot of us don't. A lot of us don't know that these whole communities, whole areas have been sacrificed. That not only are the cancer rates up, but asthma and all kinds of other disease. And guess who lives in these areas? Yes. In Cancer Alley in Louisiana, it's almost exclusively Black people. Okay? And environmental racism impacts Black and brown people at astounding rates, more than white people are impacted. In fact, and go and read about it. I'm not going to do all your work for you. Go and read about white people most often benefit from environmental racism. That is, they get payoffs, they got insurance, they've got all these different things. They actually come out better financially. Black and brown communities do not, even when you correct for economic level. So it's not just impoverished communities. It's racism. So let's go back to this theological ground that we have around God in creation, God providing and nurturing and nourishing in creation. And we hold that alongside these sacrifice zones. And now we know that sacrifice zones, we have to overlay an analysis around race and environmental racism. What's coming up for you all as people of faith? What's here for us today? What's coming up? It could be anything. We need to do something. Thank you, Susan. And I know that's been a defining part of your life. Yeah. We need to do something. What else is coming up? But the end of the psalm is kind of not very yummy, right? It's like, get the wicked out of here. Get him off the face of the earth. Yeah. Yes. And what if it's us? That's kind of hard. Yeah. Yes.
when there's marches or events for Earth Day, the people will say, well, it looks like black and brown people don't care about the earth because they didn't come, right? And so as I'm hearing that, I mean, my heart is just beating so fast right now. I mean, I can probably hear my voice shaking a little bit. And it's like, we know who this is going to benefit. So you go show up, and then if you get clean water and I live close to you, I'm going to get some clean water. But we have to fight for staying alive and not being shot and killed and all of, experiencing racism. So it's not that we don't care. It's that we know who's going to be listened to. And then hopefully if we live close enough to you, we're going to benefit.
Thank you, Marta. You just helped me get to the next step in this. So if proximity to whiteness is how you get provided for, and our whole theological tradition is about how God provides for us in creation, what is our God? Anybody? Where do we find God in that picture? Anybody? Huh? White supremacy, proximate to whiteness, proximity to whiteness. So let's think about this for a minute, okay? Now this is going to involve you having a soft mind right now. Just play with it for a minute, okay? Part of where monotheism comes from is this desire to not have a universe that's so nefarious and cruel, where human beings are just a pawn, okay? Now, from the very earliest stages of monotheism, we had scarcity and abundance just jockeying and arguing with one another. Our scripture is full of this argument, okay? Now, Cain killed his brother Abel. Why did Cain kill Abel? Jealousy, but of what? When you're jealous, you want something that somebody else has and you don't want them to have it. Inheritance, grace, favor of the Father. Okay? So one of our formative stories is about a brother killing another brother because he's afraid that he won't get what he needs, deserves, whatever. And part of that is he won't get his dad's love. So part of our tradition, this tradition where we were trying to move away from nefariousness and cruelty and scarcity and human beings being a pawn in the game. And then here is one of our most formative stories, and we're right back there. We're right back there. We're right back there not really trusting that there's enough for everybody. We're right back there trusting that God actually is kind of a jerk and would not love everyone, but would choose favor. Is anybody else feeling a little sad for our faith tradition that we so early got thrown off track? Monotheism brought with us its own kind of problems. And so when you get down to it, there is at the bottom of this a fear of abandonment. We all have abandonment issues. But you know who might have the biggest abandonment issues? Christianity. And we kind of should be the ones with the least amount of abandonment issues, right? I mean, we're the ones that believe God actually took on a body to be close to us and like to come and get his feet dirty and eat peanut butter sandwiches with us and things like that. But yet we have this insecurity, this inferiority, this fear of abandonment. that is so tenacious that we sit every day and abide with parts of God's own body being sacrificed for us to not have to really look at how we're at odds with our own siblings, how we're willing to kill our own siblings to get favor, to get provided for, to get more stuff. Whew. So when you have abandonment issues, a lot of things can happen, right? A lot of things can happen. We can start to be difficult people to be in relationship with when we have abandonment issues. It can be hard for us to trust. It can be hard for us to commit. It can be hard for us to have intimacy. It can be hard for us to really be with people over the long haul because it's easier to leave before they hurt you, because you don't really believe that they'll stick around. So on a collective level, if we have this kind of culture of abandonment issues, that would really explain a lot about our distorted self-concept. It would really explain a lot, wouldn't it? And so would it mean that one of our big steps, if we have kind of a, let's just say we have a collective personality disorder. Well, let's say it that way. Say it that way. A personality disorder starts early in life. This started with Cain and Abel, so that's early in the life of our faith. And it created this kind of culture of hypersensitivity to criticism. Is that familiar to especially white people? Insecurity, inferiority, unworthiness. Is that familiar? A failure to fully commit to relationships. I feel that one a lot. The failure to fully commit to relationships. And when we bring it back into the psalm, it's our failure to commit to our relationship to God, to each other, to the earth, to our brothers, our sisters, our siblings, especially the ones who are in harm's way. Yes. And it's especially ironic to me today as we sit in a country where Christianity is constantly being rolled out as a reason to have laws that prevent health care for trans folks, ban books about sexuality, about critical race theory, about the truth of our history. That's how Christianity's being used in the public square. It just happened at the Asheville Public School board meeting last Monday. Yeah. We've never been a Christian nation, but we surely aren't one now. If that is the way, this faith tradition that comes from this trust in God's capacity to provide for us through the very ground under our feet, the air we breathe, the relationships that we've been given. And so, Grace Covenant, my invitation to all of us is to begin to really bring to bear our faith to the existence of something that we could actually call a sacrifice zone, where people live and people are trying to breathe and people are trying to eat and people are trying to raise their children. This is affecting babies, children, youth, our elders. As people of faith, the more we can see that our faith is what calls us into right relationship. It's not the economy. It's not your politics. It's not what your mama taught you is right and wrong. It's your faith. It might be those other things too. But your faith makes this a non-negotiable. Sacrifice zones are an abomination on the face of the earth and God's body. And I am grateful to be a part of a congregation where we truly are working on our abandonment issues. We truly are. And sometimes that's really hard work. But part of our work is to not be afraid to say, yeah, we need to change. And together we can do that. Together we can do that. I want to close with just some of those last words from the psalmist. All things look to you to give them their food in due season. When you give to them, they gather it up. When you open your hand, they are filled with good things. When you hide your face, O God, they are dismayed. When you take away their breath, they die and return to their dust. When you send forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the ground. May we participate in that renewal of the face of the ground. Thanks be to God. I can't think of a better person to share our affirmation of faith today on Earth Sunday than Susan Presson. Susan is a longtime member of Grace Covenant and a faithful part of all the different iterations of creation care at this congregation. So thank you, Susan.
I'm gonna put it here just because easier. So I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. We had the Chesapeake Bay to go to, where we'd fish, sail, crab, ski, have sandy hot dog cookouts on the beach, and swim with stinging nettles. Now you may call them jellyfish, but they stung us, and we called them stinging nettles. I worked on a fishing boat as a teenager and would come back to our place so hot and smelly and downright tired. I would just sit on our porch, and that's before taking a bath or anything, looking out on the bay and feel such amazing peace. I bet some of you have had such a place in nature, and that is in God's creation, where you go when you're sad or angry or just plain exhausted. It doesn't have to be the Chesapeake Bay, the top of a mountain, or a waterfall. Now I go to the cemetery in Montfort. I'm a new beekeeper, and sometimes I just go sit and watch my bees. Man, if anybody doesn't believe in God, go learn about bees. So I sure need a place to be alone and quiet where I can work to listen for God's still small voice inside that I think of as God. Another big influence on me was going to Camp Hanover, where Kathy Meacham and John Ledgerton were counselors. We lived in canvas hogans in the woods and had vespers every night where we'd talk about seeing God in nature all around us. Camp Hanover was honestly life-changing for me. I know, but admittedly don't always feel, that God is in me and each of you and in all of creation. I guess even in stinging nettles, which feed horseshoe crabs, by the way. I'm aware of the opportunities that I've had, and what really gives me joy is sharing God's creation with people. I like for them to be out in nature, and not everybody gets that chance. I like to take kids who've never been tubing on the river, or teaching the YTL kids about bees and watching them plant with Allison in the garden and then take vegetables that they've helped grow home to their families. There's so many issues to be concerned about. I feel, because of my faith, called in this loving and just God, that I must do everything I can in conjunction with creation, being all too aware, however, that I don't live nearly as simply as I could. Over 30 years ago, I was at a conference in Montreat, and the speaker said that he thought the expression of being a good steward of the earth was rather arrogant. Boy, that really took me back, because I'd always been told to be a good steward. So I've tried to recognize more that I'm a part of creation. I'm not over top of the earth, benevolently watching over it and taking care of it. This world needs nature a lot more than it needs me. That said, because of my faith, I do feel called to use my experiences in nature, my socioeconomic status, and my education to try to buy earth-friendly products and elect leaders who will make good decisions about our environment. I guess I feel that caring for creation and sharing opportunities to be out in nature is the most life-giving and most urgent in these times. It's really exhilarating to me to share with others the enchantment of nature, and maybe, just maybe, there we can all recognize that God is there and know that we are loved.
Let us receive our morning offering with gratitude. So, for our prayers of the people today, after each praise, please join us in a moment of prayerful silence and then, when directed, singing a verse from hymn 469, Lord, listen to your children praying. Holy God, we express gratitude for our bountiful and sacred earth home, and may we be good and faithful stewards of your creation.
Open our hearts and minds to heed the word of Hop Hopkins, transforming the Sierra Club. You can't have climate change without sacrifice zones, and you can't have sacrifice zones without disposable people, and you can't have disposable people without racism.
May we acknowledge our city's declaration of a climate emergency, which speaks to the urgent need to combat climate change and the disproportionate impact of climate crisis on low-wealth communities and communities of color.
Holy God, lift up our city's climate justice initiative and plan, its vision to assist in ensuring that frontline communities play a central role in the just transformation of the systems that has established and continued to perpetuate the unequal burden of climate impacts. Let's join our voices together for the Lord's Prayer.
Our closing hymn is hymn number 15, and we're going to sing the first 4 verses. So let's stand and sing together.
Closing blessing by Jan Richardson. May the God of the heavens and of the earth enter into the place within you that holds the keenest chaos, the deepest mystery, the most intense darkness. And there, may the God of sun and moon and stars and seasons breathe the words that will bring forth a new world.
So I can think of no better charge and blessing than that, and benediction than that blessing. So I only ask that you stick around, help us clean up the chairs, and as we depart, let's share signs of Christ's peace again as a community of faith. Go in peace.